शुक्लाम्बरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये अपार करुणासिन्धुं ज्ञानदं शान्तरूपिणं श्रीचन्द्रशेखरगुरुं प्रणमामि मुदान्वहम् श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादशङ्करं लोकशङ्करं वागर्ताविव सम्पृक्तौ वागर्तप्रतिपत्तये जगदपितरौ वन्दे पार्वती परमेश्वरौ. Hello everyone, let's review shloka number 28 in Soundarya Lahari. sudhāmapyāsvādya pratibhayajarāmṛtyuhariṇīṁ vipadyante viśve vidhiśatamakhādyā diviṣadaḥ karālaṁ yatkṣvelaṁ kabalitavataḥ kālakalanā न śaṁbhostanmūlaṁ tava janani tāṭaṅkamahimā. That is the 28th verse in Soundarya Lahari. Let's take a look at the meaning of this verse. So here Acharya is saying vidhiśatamakhādyā diviṣadaḥ viśve vipadyante. So vidhi means Brahma. Shatamakha means Indra. Shatam means 100. Akha means yajnas. So someone who has performed 100 yajnas. Indra's position is actually a post. Anyone who does 100 Ashwamedha yajnas is eligible to be an Indra. Therefore Shatamakha refers to Indra. Adyaha and other. Viśve all. Diviṣadaḥ. Diviṣadaḥ means celestials. Divi means sky. Diviṣadaḥ means those who dwell in the sky, who are all the devas. So he's saying that all the celestials, Brahma and Indra, vipadyante. Vipadyante means perish. So Brahma, Indra and all the celestials perish. Sudhāmapyāsvādya. Sudham means nectar. Api here references even after. Asvadya means consuming, to be very specific, tasting. So sudhāmapyāsvādya means even after tasting the amritam. And what is this amritam supposed to do? Pratibhayajarāmṛtyuhariṇīṁ. Pratibhaya means the fear of. Jara means old age. Mrityu means death. Hariṇīṁ means removes, that which removes. So even after consuming the amrita that removes the fear of old age and death, Brahma, Indra and all the celestials perish. So we saw in the previous verses that Brahma becomes one with the 5 elements, Vishnu becomes in a resting state, and all the celestials become unmanifest at the time of Mahapralayam. So this is referencing the time of Mahapralayam, that all those people who even consume the nectar perish. But Śaṁbho means here Shiva. And what did Shiva do? Karālaṁ yatkṣvelaṁ kabalitavataḥ. So karālaṁ means dreadful, formidable, terrible. Yat means that. Kṣvelaṁ means poison. Kabalitavataḥ means gulped it down or having swallowed. So Shiva having swallowed that formidable poison, the terrible poison. So here it is referencing the Samudra Manthan, right? When the Devas and Asuras churned the ocean of milk, they got first the kālakalanā, the visham. And it was so strong that nobody could deal with it. Even Vishnu's face became dark because of that. At that time, they all reached out and asked for help from Shiva. And Shiva, for Lokakshemam, took that entire thing and gulped it down. At that time, Parvati quickly held it near his neck. That's why his throat became blue, and that's why he's called as Nilakanta. We also call him Shrikanta because auspicious throat. For the sake of the welfare of the universe, he even swallowed poison. Because of that, it's a auspicious throat. So here it is referencing that. And in the same thing, later on the Amrita came, and that's what all the celestials were able to taste. And as we know, Amrita ensures that there is no death, right? They will become immortal. And if you see, everything that is born in this universe, or everything that is a being in this universe, is subject to birth, growth, decay or old age, and death. That is the 4 stages. Everything has to go through this. But the celestials and the devas, the old age and death is not applicable to them. So it's not just that if they drink Amrita, they will be forever immortal, but they also never grow old. So the devas consume that nectar, but even after that, when the Mahapralayam happens, they all perish. Because at the time of Mahapralayam, nothing other than Shiva and Shakti remain. But Shiva consumed that formidable poison, and he is na kālakalanā. Na means not. Kālaṁ means time. Kalana means subject to. But Shiva, even though he consumed that formidable poison, he is not subject to time. Not being subject to time means no death. That means he is remaining immortal. So even though he had the dreadful poison, he remains forever. Because during Mahapralayam, Shakti and Shiva, both of them are there. So how is that possible? The one that grants immortality, the nectar, even if somebody has that, you can't say that they will be there during Mahapralayam. But someone who ate the dreadful poison is remaining during Mahapralayam. How is that possible? He's saying Tanmūlaṁ. Tanmūlaṁ means the root cause of this. How did that happen? How did Shiva stay even after having that kālakala viśve? The root cause of that is tava, your tāṭaṅkamahimā. So he's calling her as janani, mother. It is because of your tāṭaṅka. Tāṭaṅka means earrings. Mahima means power. He's saying Shiva was able to remain and not be subject to death because of the power of your earrings. And the tāṭaṅkam is considered to be the mark of a saubhagyavati, and she is sarva mangala. So there is never anything else possible for her. So it is because of her chastity, it is because of her power that Shiva was able to live. So here he is referencing the Samudra Manthan, and he is saying that even those who consumed all the nectar, even their immortality is only relative. By the time the dissolution cycle comes, and then they are subject to perishing, and their rebirth is controlled by time. So they eventually perish or become unmanifest. But Shiva transcends all of this, and he consumed deadly poison, but he is remaining eternal, and that is because of the earrings worn by goddess. So he's suggesting that the goddess Shakti is the fundamental cosmic force that sustains and protects even the highest form of reality like Shiva. And that makes her the ultimate guarantor of eternity. So the meaning of this verse is, even after consuming the divine nectar, which removes the fear of old age and death, all those celestials, including Brahma and Indra, perish. But Shiva, who swallowed the dreadful poison, is not subject to time. Mother, the root cause of this is the greatness of your earrings called Tatanka. So that is the meaning of this verse. And the purpose of this verse is to get freedom from untimely death and attain longevity. And the equivalent Lalita Sahasranamam namas are Kameshwara Prananadi, Kamesha Baddha Mangalya Sutra Shobhita Kandara, Kalyani. Those are all equivalent namas. So let's take a look at a story now. So in this particular verse, it says that Shiva drank the poison but was not subject to time, and therefore he remained eternal, or he did not die or perish because of the poison. So in this great truth, Shiva is not alone, Actually, there is a perfect historical parallel in the 16th century saint Mirabai. Her pure devotion transformed poison into charanamrit, the nectar of divine grace. So let's take a look at her story. So Meera was born about 500 years ago, and as the daughter of Rani Veer Kumari and Rao Ratan Singh, who was the second son of Mirta's ruler Rao Duda Singh. So Meera was born on a Sharad Purnima, which is also called as a Ras Purnima. And that is the day Krishna does the Ras Leela with the gopis. And Meera was actually born during the day, midday, when the sun was brightest. And so her name Meera is linked to Mihir. Mihir means sun. Meera's grandfather was very devout, and he regularly invited holy men to the palace. And those holy men would make all the satsangs, and so there was always this divine vibration that was there. And young Meera was very deeply drawn to that. And by the time she was 4 years old, she would always spend time with her grandfather, listening to all the spiritual satsang. And she started having questions like, if God is everywhere, why are we going to the temple, and things like that. So one day a saint came to the palace, and he was carrying with him a beautiful deity of Krishna. And he called that deity Giridhar Gopala. Meera looked at Giridhar Gopala, and she instantly liked that. And Meera was the kind who used to spend all the time with her grandfather. So she was not the type to play with toys or anything like that. But when she saw Giridhar Gopala, she really liked it, and she wanted to always be close to it. So Meera would be around the saint when he's doing his worship. And if you see, this saint was engaged in bhajan, kirtan, and he had a tampura, and he would sing such beautiful songs. And Meera was mesmerized. So she started picking up all those songs. And slowly time was passing, and it was about 2 weeks. And the saint also used to allow her to assist in the puja. She'll put the flowers and things like that. A little girl was always around, so he used to allow. So Meera was very engaged with this Giridhar Gopala. So 2 weeks passed, and now it was time for the saint to leave. But Meera really wanted Giridhar Gopala. Her biggest worry was, oh my gosh, tomorrow the saint will leave. No, he'll take Giridhar Gopala. I really want Giridhar Gopala. I want to keep him with me. So that was her longing, but she didn't know how to ask or anything. She's a little girl. That night when the saint was sleeping, he got a dream. And in that dream, he heard a divine voice that's saying, give Giridhar Gopala to Meera. So the next day, before leaving, he asked Meera, do you want to keep this Giridhar Gopala? That's all. For Meera, that's exactly what she wanted. Her dream came true. Immediately she said, oh yeah, I'll have it. So then the sadhu gave the Giridhar Gopala to Meera. And from then on, Meera's life revolved around serving Giridhar Gopala. She will look at his face. She will read his expression. Based on that, she will understand something. She will feed him. She will bathe him. She will care for him. So it was her and her Giridhar Gopala all the time. Every single minute she only spent with Giridhar Gopala. One day when Meera was like 5 or 6 years old, she and her mother were standing in the balcony, and there was a marriage procession that was passing by the palace. So the marriage procession was really beautiful. The groom was on a chariot, on a horse. There was the doli and all of that. So they're walking there, and everything looks so grand and rich and beautiful. So Meera was curious, and she asked her mother, what is this? What is happening here? So then Meera's mother said, oh, that's a marriage procession. The groom is coming to take his bride. They're going to live happily after this. So that when she saw all this, Meera was a bit curious, and she asked, so then who's going to be my groom? When will he come? And then her mother laughed, and she jokingly said, you're already married to your Giridhar Gopala. He is going to be your bridegroom. And Meera was a little girl, and she didn't know anything about it. Her mother was saying it because every minute Meera was always with the Giridhar Gopala. Her thoughts always centered around. So that was like the devotion a wife would have towards the husband. So she said it jokingly. But this is a little girl, and she did not know any different. And therefore she thought Giridhar Gopala was her husband. So on that day onwards, Meera's divine romance with Giridhar Gopala started. She believed him to be her husband. And she continued to engage with him. And Meera's bhakti was one where it didn't have any rituals. It transcended all of that. There was no mantra or anything like that. But this was more a spontaneous and natural relationship with Giridhar Gopala. Slowly, Meera grew up and now she's reached a marriageable age. At that time, the Rajput kings were actually facing a lot of trouble from Akbar. And the Rajput kings did not have any unity between themselves. There was rivalry between the Rajput kings also. So what they used to do is they'll form all these marriage alliances so that will strengthen the bond and they can not have all this internal rivalry. So there was another Rajput king called Sangaji. He was from the Sisodia dynasty and that was the kingdom of Chittorgarh. So he had 4 sons and his oldest son was Kumar Bhojraj, Prince Bhojraj. And so he thought, let me propose the marriage of Bhojraj with Mirabai. So then we can build a strong relationship between 2 powerful kingdoms, the Sisodia and Merta kingdom. And that way we can stand against Akbar and we'll be safe. So in those days, if you see, girls generally did not have any say in their marriage and princes didn't have anything at all. They were all political pawns. So if they were asked to marry, they have to marry. So Meera, even though she thought that Giridhar Gopala was her husband, she did not have any choice. And so she got married to Prince Bhojraj. And actually, even when they were doing the 7 woes with him, going around the fire, she still carried her Giridhar Gopala with him. And Bhojraj was very understanding and he just allowed her to continue her devotion. He didn't have any problem and there was something about Meera that he really liked. So then she went to Chittorgarh to her mother-in-law's place, and in there the first problem arose with Meera's mother-in-law objecting to her worshipping Sri Krishna. And she said, our family deity is Durga, Ban Mata, and that's who you should worship. You should not be worshipping Krishna. But Meera was really very particular and she told her, she refused strongly and she said, I will only pray to Krishna. And this kind of a defiance actually created resentment. And then slowly there was a occasion called Gangor Vrat. And so the Gangor Vrat is something where married women pray for their husband's health and longevity. So everybody was doing it, but Meera refused and she said, my husband is Giridhar Gopala. He's eternally healthy and therefore I don't have to keep any vrat. So now this kind of defiance really created more resentment. So now the entire royal household doesn't like her because Prince Bhojraj is the first son and he is the future king, and his wife saying that she won't pray for his health seemed really wrong. And so there was a lot of misunderstanding and jealousy. And Meera's sister-in-law, Udabai, really was wondering if this one is faithful to her brother or not. So she started watching Meera very closely. And one day she heard Meera speaking to somebody inside her room. So immediately she ran to Bhojraj and she said, your wife seems to have some affair with another man. I hear her speaking in the room. So you go look at it. Bhojraj was very understanding of her devotion, but this kind of stain, having a illicit relationship and all was something he could not put up with. So he got very furious. So he immediately pulled out his sword and then he rushed to the room, opened the door ajar and he said, show me the man you were talking to. Let me kill him right now. And then Meera was a bit surprised. She said, who do you want to kill? And he said, you were talking to somebody right now. I want to kill that man. Where is he? Where is he hiding? And then she said, if you want to kill the man whom I was speaking to, here he is. And she showed the statue of Giridhar Gopala. The moment Bhojraj saw that she was speaking to Giridhar Gopala, his anger completely melted. And he thought, this is an innocent lady. She's always worshipping Krishna. And people are all thinking ill of her. Because she's speaking inside the room, all these problems are happening. So let me build a temple in the palace ground and therefore she can go and worship there. If she is in a temple, nobody will think worse of her. So he went and built a temple in the palace ground. That's a temple that even stands today in Chittorgarh. So then Meera went to the temple, and now she has a nice temple. So Meera always was praying through the bhajans, and therefore she would sing in the temple, and her beautiful songs became so popular. So many sadhus and saints started visiting the temple, and slowly her popularity spread, and it was beginning to be something where across India, length and breadth of India, everybody started to hear about this princess who sings these beautiful songs on Krishna. And Meera was also very emotional as she was singing, and sometimes she would start dancing, right? So Meera will be dancing, all the sadhus are all singing. So every day this is going on in the temple. And slowly Akbar came to hear about Meerabai, and he heard about her beautiful singing. So, although Akbar is a Muslim, he had a lot of religious tolerance, and he also liked culture a lot. So, in his court, he would call all talented, extraordinary people, and then he will support them, he will give them gifts and all that. Now, after hearing about Mirabai, he wants to hear her singing, but Mirabai is a Rajput princess, and Akbar and Rajputs are enemies. So, there is no way a Rajput princess is going to come to his court. At the same time, if he goes to the Rajput, then they will kill him. So he'll be risking his life. So they were thinking about what to do, but Akbar really wanted to listen to her song. So both he and his court musician, both of them dressed like sannyasis, and they went to that temple. So when he went to that temple, he saw Mirabai, and she was in the center singing so soulfully, and all the devotees were dancing around her. And Akbar was deeply moved by her beautiful voice, the soulful prayers, and to show his gratitude, he placed a diamond necklace at the feet of Giridhar Gopala. He touched Mirabai's feet, and he quietly slipped away. Obviously, a diamond necklace catches everybody's attention, and everybody started wondering who came. And in a few days' time, they realized that Akbar himself had come. And now Mirabai's husband became enraged. He said, "You know what? You've incurred the worst possible sin. First of all, because of you, the enemy was able to come inside our own fort, and you attracted this kind of attention. You put everybody's life in danger. On top of it, some Muslim man has been able to see your face, and that is not at all done. And Rajputs and all have a very strict code of conduct for their women." And so he felt like she's made a major mistake, a grave mistake. And so he said, I don't even want to look at you anymore. You go to the river and drown yourself. That is your fate. And poor Mirabai, she was so miserable. She did not realize what had happened. She was just praying to God, and she was not responsible for what happened either. But she had no other choice but to follow the advice of her husband. So she went to the river, and as she was about to jump into the river, she heard a voice that said, "Meera, please don't jump into the river. You have not done anything wrong. So you go to Brindavan, and that is where you will see me." And so Meera felt that was Krishna's order. So she went to Brindavan with a few other people who were following. So she went there. And Bhojraj felt very bad after Mirabai left. And he always had a soft corner for her. And he was thinking, what is her fault in it? We already know that she's very emotionally attached to Giridhar Gopala. She sings songs and all that. She was doing her regular thing. Suddenly Akbar came. How will she know? So he thought there was nothing wrong with her, and he felt very bad for asking her to go. And he came to know that she did not die, and she went to Brindavan. So immediately he went and he brought her back. And after that, time was going like this, and he was still good to her, protected her from all the family's rude remarks or any rumors or anything. So any criticism, he made sure that she was not affected by that. So he was continuing to protect her that way. But once when he was fighting a battle, he died in the battle. And his death had a big effect on Mirabai's life. So in those days, sati was something that was common. So when her husband died, everybody asked her to do sati. But Mirabai refused. She said that, my husband is eternal, and therefore I will not do sati. And this became a big deal, and there was a wild rumor that, Mirabai has loose morals, and she's mixing freely with sadhus and all of these. Mirabai did not care too much about these scandals. She was busy worshipping Krishna and Giridhar Gopala, and that's how she did. But the new Rana, who was Bhojraj's brother, he could not tolerate this. He felt like Mirabai was a stain in the family's honor. Now everybody is talking about her. So he decided something has to be done, and the best thing was to kill her. So they decided how to kill her. So he sent a messenger, and they thought, Mirabai is always worshipping Giridhar Gopala. So they thought they will send garlands for Giridhar Gopala, and amidst the garlands, they placed a cobra. So when she reaches into the basket for the garland, then the cobra will come out and bite her, and immediately she would die. So that was the plan, and they sent it through a messenger. So Mirabai took bath and she sat down for worship. She did all her worship. And then at the time it was ready to offer flowers, she opened the basket and she started to put the garland. It was garland after garland that was coming, but there was no cobra at all. The messenger was a bit shocked. He knew he placed the cobra in there, but somehow the cobra was missing. So then they thought, okay, that plan failed. So now we have to do something else. And what they did is they took nails and soaked them in poison, and they placed it under her bed, under the mattress. So the thought was that she would lie down on it, and all these nails would poke her, and because their tips have poison, then it would harm her and she would die. And as usual, Meera finished all her worship for the day, and then she went and slept on the bed of nails. She didn't know about it. And then next day morning, she woke up as fresh as ever. So then again, another disappointment. Now the Rana has decided, 2 times they have tried and this is not working out. So he decided, now this time we have to do something really sure so that it will kill her. So what they did is they found the most dreadful poison they can get their hands on. So then what they did is they took a pudding, payasam, and they mixed this dreadful poison in that payasam. And now how to get Meera to take it? If you tell her it is the prasadam of Krishna, then she will surely have it. She will never miss the chance to have that. So he sent the messenger, and with this payasam mixed with poison, and the message was that this is charanamrit, the nectar from Giridhar Gopala, that she should consume it without fail. So as usual, when Meera got anything, she first offered it to Krishna, Giridhar Gopala, and then she had it as the prasad, and that was a real nectar to her. That poison did not even affect her. So the messenger was still stunned. He saw her drink that right in front of his eyes, but that poison did not affect her at all. So they all started to wonder, what is it about this woman? No matter how much we are trying to kill her, nothing is happening. In the meantime, Meera realized that her husband's relatives were trying to kill her, and so she didn't know what to do, and she sent a message to Tulasidas asking for the advice. And Tulasidas said, don't stay there. You're focused on Krishna. Don't stay there. You leave that place. So Meera from there left, and she went to her mother's place, but unfortunately the treatment there was also not good. So she finally went to Dwaraka. So once she arrived in Dwaraka, she decided, always her life was dedicated to Giridhar Gopala, but now she decided she must become one with Krishna, and that was her goal. And so she continued to sing their soulful songs and everything. And then it is said that one day the Lord finally absorbed her in the temple at Dwaraka. And it said that she just walked towards God, and after that she was gone. She just vanished without a trace. So that's the story of Mirabai. And if you see, this is a person who lived 500 years ago. There were so many kings and queens, and even so many Rajput kings and queens who have come and gone, right? But this queen of Chittor alone is still remembered even after 500 years. Why is that so? It is because of her one-pointed devotion to Krishna and the God realization, or becoming one with Krishna. She sang from the core of her heart. The music of her soul is what she gave us, right? And that is the music of her beloved, and they were all songs of surrender and love, right? She spoke with Krishna, she ate with Krishna, she drank the Krishna Prema Rasa, she saw Krishna in the tree, in the stone, in the creeper, in the flower, in the bird, in all beings, in everything. She saw Krishna, 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 and all her songs were about that love towards Krishna, the longing for Krishna, the yearning for Krishna is what she gave. And that's why, as long as there is the name of Krishna, then there will also be the name of Meera. And her legacy endures even today through the numerous bhajans which are still sung all across India. They're supposed to be some of the best bhakti bhajans, right? And also, she showed us all that true devotion is a direct, personal, spontaneous relationship with the divine. You don't need to know any mantras, you don't need to know any formal rituals, you don't have to go temple after temple, you don't have to follow the advice of any priest, nothing. With a very pure heart, if we are able to stay devoted, have a spontaneous, direct relationship with divine, then that's what guarantees our personal happiness, and that's what bhakti is all about. So if you see in this particular Soundarya Lahari verse, we are what they're saying is that Shiva drank the poison, but he remained untouched by the power of Shakti. He was untouched by the time because of the power of Shakti, right? But the Devas even drank the nectar, but they are not exempt from the cycle of dissolution, right? So what is that verse is really trying to tell us? That immortality is not found in the nectar, but you achieve immortality by transcending the poison. What does that really mean? We said it was reference to the Samudra Manthan, right? If you look at it, Samudra Manthan is symbolic of the spiritual journey of the soul towards self-realization and enlightenment. So that's what Samudra Manthan means. So the ocean of milk is our mind, right? And to begin the spiritual journey, we have to look inward. That's when our spiritual journey starts. If you have to look inward, first you have to control all your senses, because our senses are always focused outside. And this is what leads to this mistaken assumption that happiness is outside. So unless we control our senses, we'll not be able to look inward. And that's why there is Vishnu, or the tortoise, that is the base of that churning, right? And a tortoise can actually go inside and only the whole shell will be there. So always a tortoise represents senses being controlled. So when we control our senses, then we have to have the discipline to focus our attention. And that's what the Mandara mountain represents. Man-dara. Man means mind. Dara means flow, or dharanam means to concentrate. So once we control our senses and start to have the discipline to focus on one thing, even then what will happen? Our mind will oscillate. That's why you have the Vasuki, right? And the churning, the action of churning goes back and forth, back and forth. That means our desires and egos will make us oscillate. It's not like if you sit down for meditation, immediately you will get a focus and move on. So there will be that oscillation. But if you are able to continue our practice, the churning, right? That is the practice. If you continue with that, what first emerges will be the halakala visham. It's the deadly poison. And what is that deadly poison in the process of meditation? It is nothing but the greed, the jealousy, the anger, all the inner challenges we have is what will surface when you start doing your meditation. When we dive deep into ourselves and we start doing that self-inquiry, that's what will come. Unless we confront all our inner demons and purify ourselves, we cannot get to the Amrita, which is the wisdom, enlightenment, and bliss that all of us want. We cannot get there. And if you see, confronting our inner demons is not easy to do alone. Even the Devas, if you see, when the Halakala Visham came, nobody could handle it. And that's when Shiva's grace helped them overcome that poison. Like that, we all also need God's help to neutralize the poison of ego. And our bhakti towards that divine will enable us handle that. How does that bhakti help? Because it allows us to develop love, compassion, empathy. When there is love, compassion, and empathy, ego automatically subsides. Greed, jealousy, anger, everything subsides. And that's how we overcome all these challenges. And once we overcome these challenges, that's when we can move towards the path of wisdom. So here they said even after Shiva had all the poison, Shiva consumed the poison, the verse is saying it was Shakti's Tatanka that made it possible. So what is the Tatanka? That has a special meaning. Actually, Tatanka is Thala or Thada Anka. Thala or Thada means palm, and Anka means symbol. So in olden days, a woman was considered to be married if she was wearing this earrings made of palm leaves. That's what was the Tatanka. What else is in a palm leaf? All our scriptures are in the palm leaf. And what do our scriptures say? The Upanishads say, all of them say that they carry that eternal wisdom. And what is that? That our true nature is one with Brahman. So, when we realize our oneness with that ultimate reality, with everything else in this universe, that's what the ultimate wisdom is. So, the miracle that saved Mirabai from poison was not magic. It was the ultimate wisdom of complete surrender and oneness with that Parabrahman. And that's what so that happened because she transcended the poison of ego. At that point, no type of poison can affect. So that's why immortality is found by transcending the poison. And that's what this verse is saying, and that's what Mirabai's story is also showing us. As we approach Diwali this weekend, let each one of us seek the wisdom by surrendering to Devi with deep bhakti. I wish you all a very happy Diwali.